Hi, and good morning, and welcome back to Bookkeepers Bootcamp. We are on day 3 of Bootcamp. I can't believe how quick it's already going. Tomorrow is our last day. Today we have 3 fab sessions. This morning we've got Colin Hewitt from Float. Hi, Colin.
Hey, Joe.
And then at 1 p.m. we have Charlie Day Sales, as that she's known. She is the sales queen expert, and we're going to be talking to her about how we sell in a recession. And then this evening, me and Zoe will be back for the third piece of our training and to let you know how you can work with us even more. So for now, let's get into cash flow with Float. Remember, everyone, good morning. Let me know if you are here live, hashtag live if you're here live, hashtag replay if you're watching this on replay. Good morning. Nice to see you all. Hi, Laura. Remember to enable StreamYard so I can see who's joining. And please feel free today to ask any questions that you have with regards to cash flow forecasting. Colin is more than happy to answer these questions for you. So, Colin, hi, and welcome to Bookkeepers Bootcamp. Would you like to let us all know who you are and what it is you do?
Yeah, so we started Float about 10 years ago now, and it was really came out of a need that I had from running my own business, which was a digital agency. And, we were getting these reports from our accountants and just couldn't really make sense of them. And all I really wanted to know is, can we make payroll next month? What happens if we take on another member of staff? And I was doing this all in spreadsheets and just figured, look, there's got to be a better way. So that's where we got to. And 10 years later, we're still feel like we're just scratching the surface of what's possible with cash flow.
Absolutely. So I am a Float user. I use Float for both my businesses and then for all my clients' businesses. So I'm a big fan, and I log into Float daily, and it really does give me that peace of mind. But for people that are new to bookkeeping, maybe they're studying and they don't know what cash flow forecasting is. Could you give us a little bit of an overview of what it is?
Yeah, and so just to say as well, my wife is a bookkeeper, so she's our bookkeeper, and as well. So I've got to see some of the life of a bookkeeper from that side. And at the beginning of starting Float and my other business, I was doing we used Zero, and I was using all our doing all the bank rec and that kind of thing. But really, cash flow is about just helping businesses understand. Most accounting platforms stop today. They kind of have this, here's where you're up to today. But what we really want to know is what happens tomorrow. So all the things that can be, as a business grows, all the things that you're maybe keeping in your head, you're looking at your bank balance thinking, I've got 10,000 in the bank, but I've got this to pay, this to pay, this to pay tomorrow. I've got this other income coming in. But once you start, if you're doing that on the back of an envelope for too long, it starts to become too hard to keep track of. So what if you could have this system which just knew everything that was in your accounting software, and then you could add in all the things that are coming up, and whether those are actual invoices and bills to pay, or whether they're budgets, things that you're going to be paying, like a payroll or a VAT bill, or just a planned marketing expense as well. So it's really, we use a method called the direct method of cash flow, which is different to the a longer term forecast where you may be doing a 3-year forecast for a bank. So we're trying to get in Float, we want to know if every invoice and bill has an expected payment date, we should be able to predict the bank balance to the day. And that's the kind of exciting part, which just gives you that sense of control. And our mission at Float is to give businesses confidence about their numbers and be able to make confident financial decisions. So we're really about the short-term accuracy and making something that, just gives that peace of mind. People call it the sleep at night factor. I'm not churning over in my head, oh gosh, am I going to be able to pay that? Because I've done it all. I put the figures in and I know. And as soon as something hits the accounting software, that's coming into Float as well. So you've got that sense of, you've got that sense of knowing, and really, yeah, you can do it in a spreadsheet. You can do it on a piece of paper, but I think as a business is growing, you want to start to try and find a system that can do it for you.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I have tried multiple different systems, and there is simplicity in Float that makes it very user friendly. And, for me, I work with salon owners who are notoriously, they will all say, I don't like numbers. Don't show me a spreadsheet. They'll be overwhelmed by that. But they all get on with Float. And our aim in our business is to enable our clients to use Float how I use Float in my business, because I know for me, it's that bringing together, like you say, of the accounting software where we've got the actual facts and data, and then forward thinking. And I like to kind of go worst case scenario on sales, and worst case scenario on expenses. So that's how I am, and that's the beauty of it. If you're not like that, if you don't want to, I like to know if it's going to be bad, how bad's it going to be, and then I can make a plan for it. That's how I work. But everybody works differently, and some people use it as like a dreaming like goal. They put, and you can do different scenarios as well. So you can have that really optimistic. You can have the kind of middle of the range, and then you can have the pessimistic view, and you can have a look and say, okay, so I can see all these different areas. And I like to call it, I love that you called it the like sleeping at night effect. But I always explain this to my clients as like a crystal ball. It's like, if you had a crystal ball and you could look into the future of what was going to be in your bank account in 6 months' time, this is what Float does for you. You can literally go and say, okay, that's where it's going to be. And I think the power of this is actually when it's bad, you feel better for knowing it's bad, because you already know it's bad. You already in your subconscious know that you've not got enough money at some point in time, but you're just not sure when that date is. But when you give it a date and then you think, okay, all right, I've got 6 months to sort this out, you feel better about knowing it, rather than just having this inkling that, oh my God, I know I'm going to run out of money, but I don't know when, and I don't know how bad it's going to be. And I've seen so many business owners do that back of the envelope thing. I've sat in like really, really big, like lovely posh boardrooms and sat with the CEO, and he's brought out a bit of an envelope, not even a full one. And he's like, because there wasn't, and I'm talking like 10, 15 years ago, when there wasn't this kind of software, and these business owners aren't always Excel spreadsheet, they're like thinkers and visionaries, and they don't want to use a spreadsheet, but they can use a pen and paper. And it's amazed me that how having this software just really has empowered people to make decisions about what their next steps are. And that is so important in business, because otherwise you can be paralyzed, can't you? Absolutely paralyzed.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what's interesting for us is, it has been a 10-year journey, because I think we started out thinking this was a solution for accountants. And we started trying to go and sell by accountants and thinking that this would be something that they would offer. But actually what we realized is accountants a lot of times they're too distant from the day-to-day runnings of a business to be able to do this really well. They can prepare a 3-year budget, which looks all nice, balance sheet, P&L, all of that. But a business that's kind of just, getting off the ground, growing, they need something more, they understand more. And so this is really a tool for the small business and for bookkeepers who kind of, when they combine their knowledge, it's just a really powerful solution. So, that's the exciting thing that we're realizing is it's actually not really aimed at accountants. It's more aimed for business owners to be hands-on with someone like the bookkeeper to be keeping them right. So it's not something that you feel like, oh, I can't get involved in. It's absolutely the thing that it's operational. It's all driven by expected payment dates on invoices and bills, and the stuff. And when you reconcile that bank, then you're getting the accurate information. So it's a really, I think, extra string to your bow to add as a natural next step that businesses just love when they actually get into it, and they're not getting it from their accountants.
Absolutely, absolutely. I've been telling everyone this week that I've just taken on a client this week. No VAT, they are VAT registered, but the accountant's approving the VAT. The accountant's doing the payroll. The accountant's doing the compliance, year end and tax. We are doing bookkeeping, management accounts, and cash flow forecast meetings. Once a month, a cash flow forecast meeting with them. And we're charging £900 a month for that service. And they are so excited to get started. And I said to them, does your accountant offer this service? And they said, we've asked for it, but they've never, they said they'll get back to us with a quote, and they haven't. And it's just not there. So I'm really excited to get started with this business, because they are £1 million turnover business, but they have no visibility at the moment. And they're like, we know we're profitable, we know we've got money, but we don't know what to. So it's not necessarily about not having money. Cash flow, I think we were speaking, Colin, about the fact that lots of people think you only need cash flow forecasting if it's bad, but actually you need it. A fast-growing business, I have seen a fast-growing, profitable business can run out of cash really quick, can't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's when the scenario functionality becomes really powerful in Float. Again, if you've tried ever to do multiple scenarios in a spreadsheet, it starts to get really complicated. And that's one thing that we've really, I think we've really cracked in Float, which is being able to just go in and say, well, we're taking on, we might take on a bigger office, we might hire 2 more staff, and there's going to be an upfront cost of that over the next 3 or 4 months, but we hope that that's going to generate more revenue starting in month 6, and you can go in and put that in as another scenario and just see the cash dipping down a bit more than it's comfortable, but then starting to come up again. And that's when you can start thinking, oh, that's great. I can then, at the end of the year, I'm going to be able to take some drawings out of the business that I haven't been able to do. So it really does kind of, it's about giving that confidence that you can spend the money without, constantly worrying about it again, sleeping at night.
Absolutely. And I think as well, what Float is, and what it's an unexpected benefit, is it's fun. So I actually really enjoy it. I mean, when they say, tell us you're a bookkeeper without telling us you're a bookkeeper, how excited I am when I open up Float. And I actually find that I could procrastinate and be there for ages, because I just love playing with it. It's like that gamification of this side. And I think sometimes, especially the profession we're in, we've been told that it's stale and boring and very clinical, whereas this opens up the side of our brain of about what if this happened, or what if that happened. And because none of us know the actual future, and we can, and obviously we have the expected dates when money's coming in, and expected dates that the payments are going out, and we can deal with the actuals as best as we can. But there is an element of this forecasting where we have to kind of play it and guess it and go, okay, what are you thinking? And that's kind of fun.
Yeah, exactly. And depending on the type of business you're in, I know every business is different. I think we're realizing that, our vision for Float over the next 5 years is to start building different kind of modules for different type of businesses, because, it's actually, if you're an e-commerce business, you're going to think about cash flow very differently than if you're a, beautician or, a salon or something. And if you're an agency, again, it's quite different again. So what we realized, we realized we got a lot of agencies using Float, and we spoke to them, and they told us about the fact that, that one of the things that was hard was if you're building, if they're taking on a new client, they might have 3 or 4 different associated costs with that client that they're taking on. They might have to hire freelancer, equipment, video companies might need, to hire a location to shoot at, and all those things go into a project that they may or may not win. Then they're going to get paid over maybe 4 to 5 installments. So trying to put that into a traditional table is quite hard. Then we were like, well, how can we help them see where all those things that they've put in? And we just realized that it wasn't really up to scratch. So we've added this new projects functionality in, which we're really excited about, because what that gives you the power to do is group a bunch of costs of income and cash in and cash out together, and then just turn it off at a flick of a switch. So you can sort of see, well, if we win project A, B, and C, then we're fine. And if we lose project, D, E, and F, that puts us in a bit of a cash, tight position for maybe, a couple of months. And when you combine that with the scenario feature that we already have, then you can start, it's really, really powerful. And again, just that like what if ticking on and off, it's really, it's just exciting for businesses, because if they've been given a spreadsheet from, even an FD, we've got one client that was telling me, my FD gives me these spreadsheets and I can't play with them. I can't try stuff because I don't want to break his spreadsheet. So actually having that sense where you can go in and you can try stuff, it's really, empowering, and that's what we want to offer.
Yeah, we introduced Float to their UX experience, customer user experience company, and because somebody has just asked, is Float to be just used by the bookkeeper, or do you let clients use it as well? So what we do is, and this is the beauty of Float as well, you can't break it. The actuals are actuals. That's coming through from Xero, Sage, QuickBooks, wherever you're, linking from. And then the forecast is a forecast. So you're either going to be, on target, off target, and but you can. It's down to the business, and this is the beauty. This is why it's so powerful. We've talked all this week about everything is about communication and that connection with your clients, and this is so. I basically only do Float in my business. This is how I connect with my clients. I have a team who do the bookkeeping. I have a team who do month end, the VAT returns, the payroll, the management accounts. I will record a video about my management accounts. And then I always say to them, our best service is you get a monthly management accounts with a video, and then you jump on a call with me once a month and we go through your cash flow forecast. And that's what I do. And I absolutely love it, because if it's good or bad, doesn't matter. Either way, I can add value in those moments. And not anywhere, like there's nothing amazing that I'm coming up with. I'm just pointing out what's going on and then having a chat with them about what can we do about this? How can we make this better? I'm not running their business. I can't physically bring more sales in, but we can have a chat. And it's always, what gets measured gets managed. So when we know that there's something they need to do, and most of the time when I say you've got a £2,000 gap this month, how are you going to fill it? They come up with the ideas and then they go and implement it. And then they go, oh my goodness, I filled that gap. Thank you for that. It's just pointing out where the issues are. So absolutely, I love it. So this user experience client, we had their initial meeting. Obviously, they're very tech savvy, okay, because that's what they do. And when we went back for their next meeting, they'd created 5 scenarios for what the future looked like. And they were like, oh my goodness, I love this program. It is amazing. And then what we do is, if they are really competent and they're going in there every, once a week or whatever, then they just pay for the software. And if they don't want us to have a meeting with, maybe they drop down to having quarterly meetings or every 6 months, just to check that, just because they want someone to go through it with them and see, am I missing anything? Have I missed anything? But with my salon owners, I might have a meeting with them every month for 3 years, because they are not confident in it, but they love going in, and it gives them that peace of mind to crack on, and they know exactly what they need to do to, fill any gaps. Whereas other people can just run with it. And I really want to empower them, like I say, exactly how I use it in my business, but I understand they might need some hand holding. And also I've got business partners. So I manage Float, and I'm like tinkering with all of the forecasting, but then I will jump on with my business partners once a month and say, this is what I've got. And then they might say, oh, have you thought about that project? And I'm like, oh my goodness, no, I forgot. And then, so it's powerful to collaborate over, but also give you those, if you was to wake up at 3 a.m. one morning and go, oh my goodness, have I got enough money for the corp tax bill? You could go in there and manage that and have a look yourself, which is amazing. I'm just thinking question from Bernie. Does Float allow separate entities per tracking in Xero, i.e. we track via site and would like forecasts via site?
Well, actually, not at the moment, but we are. It's something that I know they're working on as we speak. So tracking categories, we had to rebuild a lot of stuff in the back end to make that possible. Rebuild our whole integration with Xero, but we are doing it because we want to get tracking categories in, especially for projects as well. Like I think projects, one of the things of projects is you put in placeholders for costs that might come up in the future, and then we can suggest, you replace those with actuals as they come in.
Mm-hmm.
Works slightly differently than the traditional way of using Float, but tracking categories again are going to be really helpful there of assigning, though, we'll be able to automatically know that certain costs are associated with certain projects. But yeah, tracking categories is on the list, and it'd be great to get feedback on that.
Absolutely. And that is something, Colin, that I've loved about using Float, is that you are constantly in development. You're constantly adding new tools and features, and I'm having to learn as I go along. We're actually getting my team, because we get more and more clients, especially in the times that we're in. Like, this is a no-brainer. They want this information. But as I'm the only one doing these meetings, I'm putting all my team through the Float certification at the moment and getting them to be more confident. And how I'm doing that transition is getting them to set up things ahead of the meeting. I will do the meeting, but I want them to go through. So how Float works, for anyone that hasn't had a demo, is that you can see the actuals, and then you can set up a budget going forward for what that's going to look like for the next up to 36 months. And then we tend to look in there, and it tells you what the average was over what the last month's actual was, what the last 3 months and last 6 months averages were. So you can kind of look at those and think, okay, I'm going to put that budget going forward. We tend to spend this, and we go down and we'll create something like a Vodafone budget or an EE budget, or salaries on average over the last 3 months have been this. Let's push that forward. What's our average pension costs? And you can go down so granular. So I'm trying to get my team confident in doing that ahead of our meetings, whereas at the moment I just go in there and do that live, and then gradually I will be there on the meetings with them to do that. But to begin with, and like I say with all software, use this for your own business. Like, use it for your own. If you understand, and this is what someone said, my passion for Float is contagious. Yeah, Joe's love for Float is contagious. Because I use it in my business and I benefit from it. I would never sell or promote anything that I'm not using and not loving myself. It just feels icky to me. So I can't sell this service to my clients unless I know it's going to really benefit them. So using it myself has really helped me with that. Someone said, sounds great, would really be helpful to a couple of my clients. I'm sold. Brilliant. Okay, so when we're doing a cash flow for somebody, what are the metrics and key indicators that we need to be, like, small businesses need to look out for, especially when there's a recession? What do they need to be thinking about?
Yeah, I think one of the big things in a business is just making sure you're getting paid on time. I think a lot of businesses, I hear stories of businesses that when people go in, like a bookkeeper go in and just realize there's so much accounts receivable that that hasn't been chased, it's sitting out. And you can check. I think Xero and accounting solutions will show you, the debtor days and that number. But as a business owner, I used to find that number really boring. Just like it's a bit out of my control. And often there's edge cases and things that push that number around. So what we really like to track is just when you set expected payment dates, how accurate are you on those expected payment dates? How many times a month? Because the Float will actually show you when you go over your expected payment date rather than over the due date, because often we have to send the due date on invoices often kind of I used to send invoices out on this, and they were due the same day, knowing that they're not going to get paid probably for a week or two. But so that's when but I'd still set my due date as the day that I'm sending the invoice, and then put the expected date in Float. And that's the kind of metric that I'm tracking. How accurate are my predictions on hitting those metrics? I think you know really, and the business owner will know what they should be expecting realistically, and you can work on techniques and tactics to get that faster. But certainly it is about going into the list of overdue bills in the first place and making sure that there's no ones that are unnecessarily longer than they need to be.
Yeah. And then what happens is, with that, it opens up the conversation of, okay, there's an issue here with credit control. How can I support you? Is there something, can I pick up the phone? Would you like me to send statements? Do we need to engage a debt collection agency? And would you like me to do that for you? Like, this is the beauty of it. It's you're going in and seeing where the issues are, and you can offer a solution then and there.
Yeah. And you could, because you can play around with those expected payment dates, you could say, look, here's the forecast. If we get these bills paid on this date, we're fine. If we don't, we're going to have to think about getting some finance in place. And do you want me to look at overdrafts for you, that kind of thing? But it gives you the reality of, here's the situation. We either, the next step after that, if we can't get paid on time, is what bills can we push back to we're not going to pay ourselves. But it allows you to have that sense of, like, I know we want to pay that person, but why don't you write to them and ask them if we can have another 7 days while we're waiting on, a few things to come in. So it's often the managing of that, at the tight end of the wedge, that's the kind of, level you can get to. But yeah, the other things for me are cash days remaining. Different businesses will have different aspirations for that. You can, depending on how optimistic you are, some people will put a sales budget in, which kind of makes the business look more healthy than it is. It's kind of aspirational. You can take that budget out, and it'll actually Float will show you, well, what's really going to happen if we make no more sales in the next, X number of months. What's the number? And we'll show you the number of the day that you go into the red, or below a certain threshold if you want to keep it safe. So you can actually set that and use that number as a kind of driver for, here's our number, we've got 93 days, and that might be fine, or it might be really scary. So it's just all about what the business has appetite for.
Absolutely. Everybody's different. And you know what? That is something, Colin, that I used to get asked this a lot by different business owners, and I never knew how to calculate this. So people would say to me, if I didn't make another sale, how long have I got until I run out of money? And that's really hard to figure out if you haven't got something like this.
Yeah.
But now I can just go delete that budget. There you go. You've got 36 days.
Yeah.
and then it's over. But again, people like knowing that number. And then that again could be a KPI. Okay, let's look at this next month. Can we make it a few days longer? How do we keep pushing this down? And I really love as well this at the beginning, because I always start with the income and the sales, and we look at what, okay, we was hoping for this last month. Actually, you've gone over that. Let's change this budget. And then we start looking at, okay, so your staff members, have they got targets? So for salons, they tend to have targets. And I'm like, it looks like, they're hitting those targets. Let's readjust those targets. So then it kind of goes into coaching and like helping them to run their business and realign. Okay, so are we going to have an incentive this month for staff on selling retail? What are they going to get? And we start talking about how they're incentivizing staff. It just opens up the conversation to so many things. So you don't have to start with that. I didn't start. When I started using Float with my clients, it was very much, let's put in some numbers and have a look at the line, and whether we go into the red or whether we stay in the blue, and are we okay? And it was very kind of pragmatic. But as I got more confident and as I started using it myself more and more in my business, I'm thinking, well, how am I using it, and what do I want to see, and what the conversations I'm having in my head as I'm using it, I can start having those. So I think it's a case of, if you're listening and thinking, oh, I'm not confident to have that conversation yet, that's fine. I wasn't either. I've been using this, since the end of 2019, I think. So it's come, like with anything, I'm now going into this every day with clients. Obviously, the conversations have started to change, and I'm trying to change it up because I'm trying to always add more value, and things like conversations around bounce back loans. So, when I started, bounce back loans didn't exist. So there was no conversations. But now when we look, we go, okay, you've got a pinch there. Would you, you can take an option for paying interest only on your bounce back loan for 6 months. And they're like, oh, can I do that? I'm like, yeah, you can do that 3 times over the course of the loan. And they're like, okay. So, and then if we put the interest only in for that section, they can say, right, we're out of it. So it's just enables you to add value constantly, I believe.
One other cool thing you can do, Joe, is because you can select the different bank accounts, that you're pulling in. Some people might want to say, this is a cash saving. I'm putting this cash in my business savings account, which is my absolute rainy day. It's my emergency money, and I've built that up. And I again, it's my sleep at night pot. Maybe it's 3 months worth of expenses or something like that. Or maybe it's for VAT or tax savings that you're putting aside. You can actually then once you put that money in, you can unselect it in the bank settings and Float, and it will almost be like that's not there. So your cash that you're playing with is your working cash, and so you're not you're not having to think, well, you're almost taking that money out, so the business isn't thinking it has that money because it's set aside for another purpose. So that's quite nice to be able to do that as well, and just kind of use the operational cash.
Definitely, because I've had that so many times where people are like, "Oh, I'm saving," and their nice blue lines getting bigger and bigger, and I've saved, and then they pay their self-assessment tax return, and it's disappeared. So yeah, it's really good. I think something that we need to be aware of with that is obviously things like Starling, where you've got savings pots. And so that money is always, people are saving for it, but it's being used as part of the working cash. So I have to have that conversation. Like, if you don't want it in the cash flow, if you want to forget about that money, you're going to have to put it outside of that, like the spaces that they have in Starling doesn't work. Okay, we've got a couple of questions. Susie has asked, can Float be used as a standalone program without integration? My employer uses a US program that does not integrate with Float, but I think this would be useful.
Yeah, sadly not. Our kind of core belief is that really the value we're adding is that live integration with software. So as much as I think there are use cases, it's just on the whole, it hasn't been worth it for us at this stage to kind of make that available. So we do integrate with QuickBooks in the US, which is the biggest software in the US, and we have looked at a few others, but really it's that integration which just makes it so much more, you can't forget things. As soon as something hits the accounting software, it's going to be in your cash flow, which is the biggest risk for me, that you're going to forget something. So it's probably, if we don't have the live integration, there are probably a few benefits to Float, like the scenario planning, that would be useful, but it's really hard for us to put it out in the world without that integration.
Absolutely. And can you have clients that working on different software? So Jane said I work with clients using VBO and Xero. So you can, as you add a new client in Float, you pick the integration. So it's Xero, QuickBooks, Free Agent.
Yeah, we haven't. Yeah, there are 3 of those at the moment. We haven't done anything else at the moment. So
So just somebody, Bobby said, I started a trial a couple of weeks ago alongside another software. Bad decision. I ended up cancelling both trials, going to look into Float again. So you might I'm going to give you Colin's contact details at the end so that you can reach out to Colin and ask him for the next steps on how to, get a trial and see what Float is about. But as I say, use your own business. Like, if you, obviously I'm hoping you are doing your own bookkeeping for your own practice on bookkeeping software. Use that, get that linked up. So if we wanted to add this as a service into our business, how do we go about selling the benefits of cash flow to our clients?
Yeah, I mean, I think, to be honest, like, what business owner doesn't want to know about cash? I think they just almost have maybe given up believing that it's possible to get that kind of level, because they've asked people and they know that it's just like, oh, it'll take me 3 weeks to pull together a cash flow. And, so they're almost not really often aware that this is available. So if you say, look, do you want me to pull together a rough forecast for you? It's going to be, I'm thinking more short term. I'm not going to do any kind of long-term financial planning for you. But, if you want me to do this, I can sit down and show you what we've got as a rough starting point, and then we can finesse it if you think there's value in it. I think, you can, like you're saying, because we pull in 3 months historical when we do our first import, which is quite a lot of data, you can go back and pretty much sort of see they're repeating, where they're spending money. It's all based on chart of accounts. So you can just fast forward, you can forward rent into the future, marketing costs. You can see all those repeating bills and invoices. They'll all be pulled in. So there's a lot of, and we're going to make this much better in the future. That's our sort of next up plan. But, you can get pretty far just by looking at the historicals and projecting those forward. I think once you've done that and you've had the conversation, it's really gauging, like, is this something they would be interested in? Because I think, you don't want to do it. Certainly not something you want to do for free. But it's really a case of, the only time when we think a business owner might say, I don't need that, is if they've never had a cash flow problem in their past. They're not aware of the dangers of, even if, like you were saying at the beginning, Joe, a growing business that, might run out of cash if they go too fast. So it's just that sense of going, well, look, let's make some plans as to what we would do if the cash, where do you want to invest that cash that you are sitting on? What if we, took on 3 new members of staff or spent some money on a new piece of equipment, I can quickly put that in and you can see the impact of that. And they probably won't have had that level of, speed before. So it is really in the showing that makes the impact, I think.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. You've got to get in there and show them their data. I think that's the power of it, showing them their actual data. I know we can like show them a demo or whatever, but when they actually see their own transactions, when you're drilling down into the actuals and they're like, oh my goodness, I forgot I paid for that every month.
Yes.
That's the other thing we're doing is like,
Yeah.
do you need that subscription every month? And we're literally reviewing their expenses and income every month through the cash flow. It's just so good. So, someone's asked if we allow the clients to have access. Absolutely. It's their data. They can't break it. And we kind of suggest that we show them how to make a scenario. At the beginning, we just build out a forecast and we take them through it. And just every month I try and give them a little bit more confidence, but I make them realize they're the ones with the information of the future of their business in their heads. I can only go on what's historically happened, but they know what's coming up, and they're the ones that have to come up with the sales budget and targets for their teams and things. So it very much is their data, and I want them to get excited and take ownership of it. Absolutely. I know lots of people, think, well, how do I charge for this? How do I charge? So firstly, I mean, for me, I charge for them using the software. I always forward on cost for software. But for Float, if an individual business was to go and take this themselves, is it £39 plus VAT that they pay?
39 if you pay annually and 49 if you pay monthly.
Right. Okay. So then my clients, obviously I've got lots of them. So I'm on a package with you guys where I think I pay £6.90 per client. But I charge £20 to my clients. So I make money on the software because straight away I'm like, well, if you can go and get it, but it's £49 a month for you, or you can pay £20 for me and I still make that. So straight away I make money on the software. And then I suppose over time, as my confidence has grown, and how it looks for us at the moment, we do only 20 minutes. All my meetings with my clients are 20 minutes because I want them in, I want them focused. And I don't want to be talking we have a conversation about how they are and things, but then we crack on with the work. I used to do hour meetings, and it meant that they would drag on and we would fill it with stuff that we didn't need to fill it with. So we jump on, we review what's happening, where we were last month, and then we look at the next few months out and just like tweak it. The first couple of times it takes a bit longer, but that's maybe work for me in the background as well to go and build out that forecast. But on the call as well, I have me and I have the bookkeeper, the client manager. So how we work is if I find something that's a bit of an anomaly, they'll jump back into Xero, have a quick look and say, oh yeah, that's why you paid twice for electricity this month because your direct debit got cancelled last month, or whatever the reason that we've seen. I find it useful to having 2 people on. So for us, we charge £135 a month for a cash flow forecast meeting, but there's 2 people on there. We are doing a bit of prep beforehand and helping them and training them as well. And as soon as they're done and happy to carry on, like I say, we can drop it down to quarterly or we can drop off completely. Now, at the beginning, I wasn't charging that much, but now I know the value of it and I know the value we give in that 20 minutes. It might seem like 135 for 20 minutes, but there's 2 people, there's prep before and training, and we're kind of like helping teach them to fish for themselves.
Yeah.
So it's a great business skill that they're learning. So that needs to be put in. But you can, at the beginning, I definitely was, I don't know, charging, £20 for an hour at the beginning, because I didn't, that's how it started. And then it's evolved over time. And those clients that were paying that at the beginning are now paying the 135 for the 20 minutes because they see the value in it as well. Sorry, have you got any ideas, Colin, about like how people price?
One idea is to really, the first time setup of any software is a big piece of work. I mean, gosh, we looked at putting in Salesforce at our business once, and the cost just to, we're talking, 20,000 or something just to get set up. And then, people were telling us like, well, you probably need a full-time Salesforce engineer to come and keep the data on track. So, setting up software that's going to, be the underpinning of your business is, it shouldn't be cheap. The first setup you could charge, obviously every business it depends on the stage, but if you're £1 million business, you can definitely afford to spend, 1,000 or a couple of thousand setting up something like Float as a cash flow piece of software that you're going to make confident financial decisions in and have, real insight into your business that you don't have at the moment. So I would always do a setup cost, which is, going to be, because when you set up Float, you see things that you might not have seen before, and the business will see things. Because to be honest, we use Xero as our platform. I never go in there anymore. I've not been into Xero for such a long time, but I will go into Float because it shows me, like, if I see anything that I'm not sure about, I can look at it and go, oh, why are we over budget on marketing this month? And click in it and see all the transactions that I need to see. I don't need to go into Xero. And then I can be like you were saying, oh, we're still paying for that subscription. And I didn't realize that. Like, let's cancel that. Or, why do we, did somebody forget to turn off AdWords this month because our spending seems out of control? So you get the level that you need, but you might also need to go in and change chart of accounts and say, look, the chart of accounts are a bit of a mess. You've obviously somebody maybe been in before you, or the business has been playing around with it. There might need to be some tidy up there, because that's really where the budgets are aligned in Float to chart of accounts. Now you can group and stuff in Float to make it easier, but there is often a bit of tidy up there to be, and they might give you a spreadsheet budget, which looks nothing like the chart of accounts again. So there's a bit of a matching up process that needs to happen. And sometimes there's a bit of work involved in that. So I think it's always worth just setting expectations and saying, look, if you want to do this, there is a setup cost. And, that's the thing, that some businesses will go for it. And if the business isn't convinced, trust me, there are businesses that just will say, yes, I need this and I want this. And I'd start with those clients first.
Absolutely. We've got a couple of questions before we go. We finish up. So someone said, I want to go and do the certification now, but have work to do. And people loving that you do a certification, because we are bookkeepers and accountants. We love a certificate. Kirsty has asked, does that price include the cash flow report or just the meeting, please? I don't produce a report. It's like live all the time. It's like you go in there and you look every single day, and you can see what you need to see, the graph of where you're at. You can download it. You can create a PDF of and send off a report, but I like the live cloud version of it. But you can produce a report to send that off as well, and that would be included in there. Any thoughts on that, Colin?
Yeah, no, I think live is always better. There's a download. You can download the chart and just put that in a report if you want. Send that over by email, or you can download a CSV file and do some work in that if you want again. But I think nothing beats the live report. And some people are numbers people. They like tables, they like numbers. Other people are visual. They like to see the graph, and that's all they need to see. I'm a visual person. I need to see, just show me the graph. That's all we need. That's what we put in our board report every month. So yeah, it'll depend on the stage of the business. Some businesses, when they're in tight cash position, it's weekly. Like you're changing things on the fly, like, with new information coming in. This client's told us they can't pay us until next week. That kind of thing. Other times when things are going generally well, it's just a monthly check-in that they might need. But I think this ties all that together. That ties in the chasing of invoices and bills and the payments and timings and captures of that. So it'll just be really depending on, but be aware if they're asking you to get into chasing, if that becomes another service really at that point, doesn't it? So
yeah, make sure you're charging for any additional services that come out of the work. Kath has asked, does it work well with multi-currency bank accounts in Xero?
Does, yeah, that's something we've put a lot of work into. So yeah, we pull all the currency, we convert them into the base currency in Xero. So everything in there will be converted at the exchange rate that we get from our provider on that. So any foreign invoices will be converted into the base currency.
Perfect. Jane has asked, she works with charities. Is it good for projects, income and expenditure? Funders like to see where their money is going.
Projects, income, expenditure. Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, we're working on at the moment. So yeah, the new projects feature can really, I think, should really help with this. You can show a list of all your income and all your costs per project, and it will show you essentially it's not really the profitability of the project, but it will show you the net cash movement. So you can see, is this project is it efficient, or is it just a cost? So yeah, I think projects is getting a lot of work and attention at the moment. So any feedback on that would be great to hear.
Excellent. Colin, thank you so much. It's been a very engaged, very excited audience today. If you would like to find out more about Float and what it can do for you and maybe get a demo, then if you reach out to Colin at colin@floatapp.com, he'd be happy to answer your questions and get you set up with Float and trying it out on yourself or one of your clients. And I do highly recommend using it for your own business, however small you are, it's just, there's something magical about working with your own data to realize how excited your clients will be to be able to see their future, when it always feels, if you're brand new, a bit scary. And I know I've spoken a lot this week about how I've been playing with the idea of what would £1 million turnover bookkeeping business look like in 3 years' time. And guess what? I can put all of those budgets into Float and actually look and see if I'm getting close, even though I'm just playing at it. Why not? Let's have some more fun with the work that we do. Colin, thank you so much for your time today. It's been great. I think your inbox and you are going to be quite busy today. And anyone, obviously, I love Float. If you've got any questions, you can reach out to me as well. So thank you, Colin, for being with us today.
Thanks, Joe. We've got a great support team as well, guys. So, that's one of the things we pride ourselves in. So even in the app, there's a little intercom button. You can live chat, and the team are really good at getting back. It's not always live, but they're really good at coming back and answering questions on anything you might have. So just feel free to jump in there. You're in safe hands.
Oh, thanks, Colin. Thanks, everybody. I will be back at 1 p.m. With Charlie Day, talking about how you sell in a recession, and back again this evening at 6:30 with Zoe to talk further about how we support our clients in our businesses and grow our businesses in this tough climate. Speak to you all very soon. Thanks, Colin. Take care.
Cheers, Joe. Thanks, everyone.